Welcome back, everybody. Our gold sponsors for this event is Tukatech Innovative Solutions for Apparel Industry. And we have amongst us today Ms. Savannah Crawford, the Chief Collaborator at Tukatech Incorporated. Ms. Savannah has implemented Tuka 3D for virtual garment visualization in companies worldwide. She has also aided the development of the Tuka Cloud application for digital collaboration and has obtained a Bachelor of Science from California Polytechnic State University in Pomona, California, where she studied apparel merchandising and management with an emphasis in apparel production. May I please request you, ma'am, to come up on the stage and share your thoughts and ideas with us all. Please put your hands together for Ms. Savannah Crawford.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. First, I'd like to thank Dr. Prabir Jana for putting on this event, and thank you to our fascinating panel for that really interesting discussion before the break, and for unknowingly making a perfect segue into what I'd like to talk to you all about today, which is 3D sample making for athleisure, specifically in regards to fit. So with the changing habits of the consumers, one of the big challenges in the retail industry in general is obviously reduction of time, which is why virtualization has become such a buzzword in the last few years. Consumers are very fickle and their minds change, and retailers need to be able to respond to that, and then as a result manufacturers need to be able to respond to that as well. So the 3D visualization for reduction of time has become very important. But to really work 3D sample making, whether it's athleisure or activewear or any category really, there's a lot of things to consider. I'm going to focus on a couple of things as they in regards to athleisure. Number one is that the model that we're looking at. One of the challenges that's been happening is before, when everybody was looking at the same live model, she could give you feedback, she could walk around, talk to you, and everybody who's in the same room is looking at the same body. Now that we work globally, that person can't really travel in an efficient way to be able to try on garments in Europe and the United States and China and India. So one of the kind of Band-Aid solutions that was come up with was FitForm. But with athleisure in particular, because people move a lot, one of the disadvantages of using a FitForm is that it cannot move and it can't talk to you. So one of the advantages that I'd like to talk about with the 3D is as it pertains to the model as a foundation and the motion that's inherent with that, as well as the fabrics, because there's so many innovations that are happening on the fabric and textile front that we need to be able to translate those different physical properties into digital fabric to be able to make sure that we have zero tolerance between the screen and real life. And finally, the collaboration aspect. As I mentioned, and as we all know, we are working globally for the most part. People in different time zones, different languages, different cultures, all these things, and people are so mobile that to have to ship a physical sample via FedEx comes with a lot of challenges, and to have to be tied to your email comes with a lot of challenges as well. So I'd like to talk about the collaboration solutions that kind of tie this all together so that people are connected without needing to have a bunch of clunky software and things like that. So the first step to a successful implementation of 3D technology in athleisure is in building the virtual fit model. Now, virtual fit models can reflect any body, whether that's the wide range of women's sizes, even children's, men's, and of course plus sizes, where it is very difficult to replicate a plus size body, for example, just because of the way that people gain weight and the weight is distributed. The distribution of measurements is very difficult to capture in a fit form. So when developing a 3D model, the first thing that we do at Tukatech is we do take measurements, but it's a lot more in depth than just say the bust, waist, and hips. and the inseam. We want to see how far those measurements are from each other, how they're distributed about the body, because on paper, two girls or whoever could have the same measurements, but if you were to try the same garment, one might look great and the other might look terrible. So we need to make sure that it's not just the measurements, but the shape as well, which is why we'll then marry these, the numerical data with what we call the physical data from scans or photos. So in this, we're able to not just capture the proper circumferential measurements or even the distance, but we can capture the posture and the build of the person. Different brands have different body types or lifestyles that they're trying to cater to. An athletic build, even though it may be the same measurements, is going to look very different than just someone who doesn't really work out as much. So that's really important in capturing the right body. For athleisure and activewear specifically, having the motion capture is also equally, if not more important, you could argue, because whether you're actively running or playing a sport, wearing activewear, or using athleisure for yoga that's not as intense but still needs the flexibility, or even as you mentioned, you are now wearing athleisure wear in the office. Nobody's standing still, and even in an office, you're still sitting, reaching for things. You're still a lot more active than you even maybe realize, which is why using the motion with the 3D models gives you a lot more feedback than just looking at something on a static 3D model or even a fit form. So being able to replicate motions that people do every day, such as a walk or a run, or even a fashion pose if you're just more interested in the design. There's a lot of different motions that can be translated into the digital world that kind of bring the live action into that. So we can have the model hug her arms and do a whole range of different motions to see the fit. This is a great example of why that's so important with these particular pants. They look okay when she's standing still, but as she starts that squat, that's when you really see that there is a fit problem in the rise. Here's another great example of using 3D technology for fit approvals. Here, when the model jumps 5 times, because the elasticity is too loose, the pants will actually fall down. And then because this is connected to a pattern-making system, all those corrections can be made digitally, quickly updated, and you can see the results of that work a lot faster than if you were to cut and sew and try it on a fit form. Now, after we've made that correction, when the model jumps, she remains covered and good to go. The fabrication is another important factor, not just, once we have the model set as a foundation, we can fit all of our blocks to her and make sure that the fit is okay there, but then the fit will change with every new fabrication, and as we discussed, there's lots of innovations going on with different blends and things of that nature, and that's going to change the fit a lot. Furthermore, because of all these new innovations, the cost of fabric becomes a lot more as well. So, your time of sending a physical sample obviously will increase the cost, but the cost of cutting sample yardage is also going up. So being able to capture those physical properties digitally lets you do however many prototypes you need to get the proper design or fit or what have you without having to cut into real fabric. As you can see here, even in the digital world, these different fabrics will affect even the same garment on the same body will have a different appearance and a different fit as well. So we are able to capture what we call the drapeability as well as the stretchability, which is so important for active and athleisure, and and the weight of the fabric. So we can create any kind of combinations of fabric characteristics for behavior and for checking of fit. So when it comes to fitting, these fit sessions, they happen digitally. So the model will do the same motions that you would want to see in a live sample fitting, and you can approve the fit with a blank garment because you get the model can't speak to you, so she does speak to you with these, what we call the tension mapping. So you can see where the garment is stretching the most or gathering, and if there are fit problems, you'll see that highlighted. In this case, this is a knit garment, so a little red in the stretch is okay. And then, of course, we can see the ease and the gathering between the fabric and the body. So all these fit problems are highlighted very well for a technical person who's approving fit in 3D. And then once that fit is approved, applying graphics as far as the design goes is just, you're just doing digital texturing. So you can make presentations and storyboards and offer thousands of different color combinations, graphic designs, whatever look elements you want, because it's all in the same body. As long as the fabrication doesn't change, what you put on top of it doesn't really matter. So this helps to create a lot of samples, a lot of SKUs in a very short amount of time without a lot of really technical work. Now the collaboration is where all of this kind of comes together. Because we are working globally, a lot of people are so tied to their emails, and that's kind of their lifeline in a lot of ways for communication, whether they're working with physical samples, or now people are shifting over to digital, and now we're getting more emails because now we're working with digital files. So collaboration solutions are really important, and doing cloud collaboration specifically when it comes to digital sample making is really key. The short-term benefits are obviously the time and the cost in receiving samples because you're just sending it over the internet, but there's also the direct communication as well as kind of a mini PLM where you get to track changes, see who requested certain things, and then long-term benefits, in addition to the data organization, would be that now you have a database of these virtual samples, just like many sample rooms have racks and racks and racks of these physical samples that are literally just taking up space at this point. Now you have that same library on the cloud, which is accessible to everybody without taking up a lot of physical space. Fit issues are minimized over time because you're not starting from scratch with a physical pattern, so the human error is kind of cut down in a lot of ways, and you can work a lot faster to make small changes, small design hits, and all those things. And as I mentioned, you can offer more product options because you're working in a digital space. So you can kind of conceptualize things before you even have the resources at hand to see if this is even a direction you want to go. So in a cloud setting, you're able to browse a virtual sample library, and I'm going to show you a sample of one of the libraries that was done by some of our partners in Sri Lanka, Brandix and Hydra Money, who started working with Amazon on their athleisure wear. So it's kind of exactly what we're talking about today, so it's perfect. So they have their sample library where they can see everything organized by work in progress and approved. On the vendor side, they can see things that are at internal stage that haven't even yet been approved by their internal teams. So it's all permissions based and secure. And in the sample folder, pretty much everything that has to do with this sample is included. So we can see the draped garment itself, but we also see the fabric swatches digitally. So as you're looking at something, you understand what went into it, as well as all the colorway variations. And the details of those. The videos of the garment in motion, which are so key to assessing the fit, are all on the same platform. So you can see the model do these fit tests. And for those of us that still like to touch and feel, there's even a 3D viewer directly on the web. So if you're a designer or even like a virtual sample room manager, you only have to look at this online. You don't have to have software on your desktop to be able to look at a 3D garment, see it from whatever angle you want to. And then because it's online, you can do your approvals directly online, and everybody who's involved with that style is notified. So you don't have to talk to this guy who's going to tell this guy who's going to tell this guy, because it's all very transparent and open. So everybody's aware of what's happening in real time. Further to that, the ability to comment and communicate is equally important in managing these samples, not just from an organization standpoint, but also in the communication. So within the same structure, you have the option to look at even styles that have been approved before and use them as templates for the future. So this is an example of a tank top that's been approved for a previous season, and a designer can go in, look at the way that it's fitting, and if that's approximately what he or she wants, she has all of that reference data at her fingertips. So again, she can look at that 3D model directly on the web and make her comments for either a correction or to signify that this should be a reference directly on the browser itself. So instead of taking a photograph, writing it out, and emailing it, now you just do that all in the same app, and this is sent automatically to everybody involved. So it's just as easily formatted and powerful and robust as email, but it's all hosted on the web, so you're not getting bombarded with CCs on 100 emails that don't really have anything to do with you, which I'm sure happens to a lot of us in this room. And now the notification system that's built in as well lets you know as soon as something is ready for review. So, I mean, now if you're waiting for FedEx, you get excited when you get the tracking number in your email because now you can see where it is. But now we're cutting that even down further where you're getting notified when it's actually ready for review online. So you just click a button and you can go and see it right away. All right, so that is 3D sample making for athleisure specifically. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer now if there's time, or feel free to approach me afterwards, and that's fine too. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much for that presentation. And now I'd request Mr. K.N. Chatterjee to come up on the stage and present Ms. Savannah with a token of appreciation. Ma'am, would you please come up on stage? A Livestock Go bottle. Thank you so much. Moving on, a report from Euromonitor says, from 2015 to 2016, the Indian sportswear market grew 22%, outspacing the segment's global increase of 7%. By 2020, it is expected to grow an additional 12% CAGR, with sales expected to reach $8 billion. By 2018, Asia Pacific would emerge as the largest sports apparel market. On that note, let's start with the panel discussion 2, Markets and Opportunities, Athleisure and Active Sportswear. A moderator for this discussion is going to be, and I welcome you on stage, sir, Mr. Arindam Saha, Associate Director, PricewaterhouseCoopers, India. Please put your hands together for him. Mr. Saha is presently working in the advisory line of PricewaterhouseCoopers Private Limited as Associate Director. He has more than 18 years of experience in textile and apparel sector within and outside India. He's a gold medalist from IIT Delhi, and his management education is from IIFT Delhi.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I could not hear any voice, sorry. Good afternoon. Yes, that should be the energy, right? So, today we are supposed to discuss in the next panel the markets and opportunities for active sportswear and athleisure, right? So let me, you know Anurag, right? You know Anurag, right? No? Okay. Anurag is working in a MNC. He is 40 years old. And, once somebody told him that, boss, you are crossing 40, so you should do the blood test and all the tests done very regularly. He went there, and the cholesterol level is high. So what he did? He started going to the park every day in the morning, started jogging, walking, everything. In his young days, he used to go to the park with the same t-shirt which he used at night. But now, when he's going to the park, he's using a Nike t-shirt, Adidas trousers, some kind of thing. Same thing happened with Pappu. So Pappu is a 12 years old boy, and he is very enthusiastic about IPL. Now when IPL is going on, so he needs a t-shirt of Delhi Daredevils. Similar story is happening with Mrs. Bilandani. Now Mrs. Bilandani is member of 3 kitty parties. Okay, and all of them have 15 members, 20 members, and suddenly they thought that they are becoming fat. So what they need to do? They are going to yoga, they are practicing, and they have formed the same kitty party. Okay, we will work together. And they are using leggings from the MNCs so that, it can give that particular look, that fitted t-shirts. So that's the kind of change which is happening in our domestic market. Starting from a school-going kid to the adult. And that's where the discussion on the markets becomes so important. So ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome all our esteemed panelists. I request Anurag Jayachand. He is heading the Technology and Innovation Division of Woodland. He has over 20 years of experience in garment and textile industry. He has been associated with most of the key functions that you can think of, starting from setting up of factories, productions, quality control, sourcing, and merchandising. So Anurag, I request you to join in the panel. The next panelist is Mr. Vijay Stodi, one of the founder member of T10 Sports, and he has worked with many of the multinational clients like Gap, Macy's, CNA, etc. And under his guidance, T10 has won many of the prizes and like 100 Best SME Awards, Times of India, Power of Ideas, etc. So with these words, may I request Mr. Vijay Stodi to please join us. He's wearing a shirt from the same brand. Yeah, thanks.